Is it going? Oh. Okay, we want to know about your brothers. Wait,
I don't.
how many? 3 brothers.
3 brothers.
We want to know
and
about
I
your
have a
brothers.
half sister. There are 3 brothers. There's Angelo, Peter, myself, Rose, and Anthony. We call.
What's the 3rd one?
Anthony.
I thought you
Peter.
said Anthony first.
Peter, myself, and then Anthony.
And the other one?
No more. 4.
Angelo.
Angelo was the first.
Angelo, okay. I missed that.
Oh, yeah, well, he was the first, the oldest, was Angelo. Of course, he's passed away now. He didn't live very too long.
What did he do?
He used to, after he graduated high school, he went to work for Dressograph Multigraph as a printer. And he was married very young. I think they were married at 20 years old. I think he got married and had see how many sons? No daughters. 2 sons, Charles and Paul. Then my brother Peter had 2 sons and a girl, and Peter was older than myself. He had let's see the boys. Dennis
Oh,
and Norman
is he the doctor?
and Patsy. Those are Grandpa's family. And they're married, and I don't know too much about them because they live in California, and I don't know too much about their family life. And of course there's Patsy Ann. Patsy was the oldest. And she lives in California, and she had 2 sons, Stephen and Vince. They're both married, and now she is taking care of her sick mother, and she works for 5 cardiologists. She's in charge of she's an office administrator.
Who's Patsy Ann?
Patsy Ann is
Our cousin.
our cousin, what is
Niece.
she? My niece,
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
And cousins to your mother, and third or fourth cousin to you. That's all of my family. Then Grandpa's family, the Sprons family. There was Aunt Jane and Dad, Mike, his grandpa. Then there was Lee
And Lee.
Lee and Faye
Faye.
and Aunt Rose.
Rose.
Yeah.
5.
And 5. Grandpa was 17 when his father died. And I met Grandpa in 1929. We lived in the same neighborhood, but I never knew him. Not the same neighborhood, really. I had moved out of the neighborhood and went lived in East Cleveland for a few years, and I was married from East Cleveland. I met Grandpa 1929. I think I was 18 years old when I met Grandpa.
Wow.
And
How'd you meet him?
I on a boat going to Cedar Point, and I had to beg my mother to let me go to this boat ride because I wasn't allowed to date. And as much as my older brother Peter was going, I thought, well, she said I could go with Pete and his wife and his girlfriend at that time. So I met Grandpa on the boat. We were waiting in the lunch line.
Look
you
what
know.
happens. Your mom lets you go out once.
Once. And I met this man. I was so afraid of him. You know, I never dated.
Oh, he was how old? 23?
He was 23. And I was 18. And he was 27 when we were married. And at that time, 27 was old.
Mm.
Are you taking this all down?
Yeah. Forever.
What else you want to know?
So you met on the boat.
We went on the boat.
When the boat just went over to where?
We went to Cedar Point, and we danced events with some of his club members. The IAGA, Italian American Golf Association, was having they had a boat ride and packed lunches and to have fun at Cedar Point.
It was during the day.
It was during the day, yeah.
Was he golfing?
No, he had knickers on. Oh, he was sharp. Had knickers on. He was starting to get a little thin-haired. But he had enough, but it was thinning out.
And he was how old? 23?
27.
No, 27.
Well, that you
23. I'm married.
23.
Yeah, he was 27 when we got married. He was 23.
Wow.
He was thinning out then. So.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you don't have a chance.
I don't
Your
have-
father,
For
your
Laura.
grandfather.
Wait, think of another question.
So,
You can turn it off when she's through so that we don't.
I don't have to be there.
Yeah.
I'm just,
Hey, you're back.
Hi.
What are you guys doing?
so what were we talking about?
You're talking about Cedar Point.
Yeah, Cedar Point.
And
Cedar Point. And
IAGA.
at that time, I had just got a job at Sears Roebuck. Sears had opened a store on Carnegie, Cleveland and on Carnegie, and I was hired. Being my first job, I was hired as a wrapper. And he called Sears one night and wanted to take me home from the work, and I worked till 9 o'clock, and I wasn't allowed to go out with boys. So he had to drive home and go. He had a Model A Ford,
Oh.
and he called. I didn't have a boyfriend. I wasn't dating. I had a lot of boyfriends, but wasn't allowed to date. So, but and Grandma was so strict. Every date had to find out where she would be sitting on one side of the sofa, and Mike and I might be on the other end of the sofa, and she would be sitting on an armchair right in front of us watching. Every date we went on, I had to be home at a certain hour, 10 o'clock, and one night we came home a little later than 10 o'clock, and she just bashed our heads together.
Oh my God.
She was
Really?
She was very, very, very strict. My father, God bless him, he never said a word. He was such a quiet man. My mother did all the talking, and of course that was depression, bank crash in 1929, and he.
Well, that was after you married, right?
No, we were married in 1933.
Okay.
So we had a rough going because everybody was out of work at that time.
What was he doing?
Grandpa was working. When I met him, he was working for Mayborn Food Products. He was making the extracts, like a chemist.
Oh yeah.
And 1929, that's what he was doing. Then he decided he was going back to school. He just decided to go to Western Reserve. It wasn't Case Western Reserve at the time. It was just Western Reserve. Case wasn't involved then. And he made the varsity team. And he went to reserve, I think, 1 year. And he just couldn't. He was out of school too long. His father had been died in the meantime. He died in 1923. In September of 23, he died. He was killed in an accident at Stearns Motor Company. He was a tool man. He was in charge of the tool crib, and he had some tools on a flat truck. And at that time, he was on a freight elevator, and the freight elevator wasn't closed; it was open, and he pushed right through. And went, "Ooh."
Grandpa's father.
Grandpa's dead, and that was a bad thing in his life. Mike was 17
Yeah.
at that time when his father died. I didn't know him, but they had a rough life. There were 4 girls and 1 boy in the family, and he had just build his own building. He contracted his own building. He had his own building. He contracted his own building.